A portion of this video is sponsored by Pitaka. Today we're going to be comparing the iPhone 17 Pro Max to the Pixel 10 Pro XL. Now you guys know me by now, you know how I like to do this. I think the real test of any device in the world is when you put it against its rivals. And that's how you see what actually holds up, what is marketing fluff, and where your money is best spent. So let's talk about how the iPhone 17 Pro Max is compared to its biggest competition, the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL. For the first time ever, the iPhone has the less minimalist phone design in comparison, which is kind of shocking. Personally, it'll take some time for me to get used to this new look. It's just so decidedly un-Apple-like. We get three colors this year, the very polarizing cosmic orange, then deep blue and silver. And for the Pixel, we have moonstone, jade, porcelain, and obsidian. But form-wise, both of these are very large phones, so let's start there. It's not a surprise that Pro phones are usually the largest of the bunch, but now it feels like it's a competition for who has the biggest. Now the 17 Pro Max is slightly larger, a 6.9-inch phone, and the Pixel 10 Pro XL is 6.8 inches. So officially, you have the most enormous iPhone yet. You get a fully immersive visual experience whichever way you swing, because apart from the massive screen, both phones have really thin bezels, so you get as much screen real estate as possible. Both of these phones are aluminum, which is a downgrade for Apple in some sense, because 2 years ago, titanium was the big headline. But there is some sort of an explanation for why they chose aluminum, and that is the addition of the vapor cooling chamber. That is Apple's shiny new feature this year, and I'll spare you all the science, but essentially this is a more efficient thermal regulation system to solve the very iPhone problem of overheating, especially when doing sustained activities. Titanium isn't as thermally conductive as aluminum, so that's likely why Apple made that call. That also explains the unibody design the 17 Pro Max has this year. And in my hand, I wouldn't say either of these phones are more comfortable than the other. They weigh just about the same, but the Pixel's iconic camera design makes it slightly easier to handle. Both phones carry the usual IP68 water and dust resistance, and you get nano SIM plus eSIM support on both. eSIM if you're only in the US and Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Now, speaking of handling, I've been using the black Pitaka Aramid case on my 17 Pro Max, and honestly, it's been very different. So this is the Pitaka Aramid case in black, and if you're like me and you hate bulky cases that ruin the feel of your phone, then this is the one you need to know about. The first thing you notice is the texture. It is made from aramid fiber, and that is the same material used in aerospace and body armor. It is feather light but crazy tough at the same time. You get a subtle woven pattern that catches light differently from every angle, and it looks very premium. But more importantly, it adds grip without turning your phone into a fingerprint magnet. Attention to detail is very impressive. The raised camera lip keeps your lenses safe on flat surfaces, and every button is precisely cut out so you get a clean tactile click every single time. Even the ports and speakers are perfectly aligned, nothing feels off. And because Pitaka builds these with MagSafe in mind, the magnetic connection is still rock solid. My charger clicks in instantly, my MagSafe stand holds steadily, and even heavier mounts don't slide off. You don't lose any of that Apple ecosystem convenience. So if you're using the new iPhone 17 Pro Max and you want something that protects your phone without compromising on style, then this black Pitaka Aramid case might be the best balance you'll find. I'll drop a link below so you can check it out. A huge thanks to Pitaka for sponsoring this video. But that's just the hardware in your hand. Let's talk about the display itself on top of that. Now, without a doubt, these are some of the most beautiful displays you can get right now in 2025. You have an LTPO Super Retina OLED panel, you have a 120Hz refresh rate, and always on display, beautiful crisp visuals that are buttery smooth. The animations are really good. Apple and Google are on top of the game with their display quality, so there's no deal breaker in this regard. Apple even added a PWM dimming to the 17 Pro Max, and it's a feature I loved on the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and it helps reduce eye strain for those who are sensitive to OLED screens. So both brands are really going band for band in this regard. This doesn't mean that there is no winner though, because Apple really stepped up their game when it came to its brightness, because the iPhone 17 Pro Max is now 3000 nits from 2000 nits on the 16 Pro Max, and they also added the anti-reflective coating, which means you get better visibility when you're outdoor or under any glaring light source. So it's not exactly the most groundbreaking groundbreaking feature. Samsung already had this for the last couple of years, but it is a very nice touch and it gives the 17 Pro Max a leg up over the Pixel when it comes to the display. Now the 10 Pro XL also gets very bright. This is up to 3300 nits of peak brightness, so it is still visible in bright conditions, but trust me, the lack of that anti-reflective coating makes a significant difference. After using both phones for about a week, I'm not gonna lie, Apple's vapor chamber really changes things for the iPhone's raw performance. So Apple Silicon has always been a workhorse, but the downfall, or its biggest downfall, was its very poor heat management, and that is very different now with the 17 Pro Max. So while using this in the past week, I can confirm that this thing handles heat way better than the iPhone 16 Pro Max, even when you're pushing it to its limits with long hours of gaming or you're taking videos and whatnot. That's thanks to a number of really smart choices. First, you get 12 gigs of RAM out of the box, which is 4 gigs more than last year, which means extra muscle for heavy lifting. You also get 256 gigs of base storage, and this can go up to 2 terabytes. And of course, its experience is leveled up with iOS 26, which doesn't have any headline improvement apart from the new liquid glass design, but there are many small quality of life improvements that add up to provide a better experience overall. And one of them is call screening, which automatically answers unknown calls. It collects the person's info, then rings you with their response, so you decide if it's worth picking up or hanging up. That's good and that's very useful. You also get more room for customizations though, and that is nowhere near the Android level. And speaking of Android, the Pixel 10 Pro XL gets its own upgrade with the Tensor G5. Same promises, faster, cooler, and smarter. But Google takes a different route from Apple. You're looking at 16 gigs of RAM plus UFS 4.0 storage, so apps launch on time and data transfer speeds are lightning fast. Plus, Android 16 is beautiful. It is a beautiful experience that allows you even more customizations than before. So the Pixel 10 Pro XL can't compete with Apple on raw performance, but that's never been the Pixel's selling point over the last few years. Pixels have always been about the overall experience and the new features AI has to offer when it comes to Gemini in 2025. It actually edges out the 17 Pro Max in that regard. Apple Intelligence has remained a concept since the first day it was announced, but Google is already delivering an integrated experience with Gemini, and it works seamlessly on the Tensor G5. You have Magic Queue, you have live translations, call notes, circuits of search, all those useful AI features with real-world application. So performance-wise, your choice really depends on what you want out of your phone. If you're an average consumer, then browsing social media, making calls, taking pictures, and you're already locked into the Google ecosystem, then I think the Pixel just makes more sense. But if you need that raw muscle for heavy workloads, then Apple wins by a landslide. Another category I declared the 17 Pro Max a clear winner is in its camera, and I'm very disappointed with the Pixel 10 Pro XL. And not because it's bad, it's just that there's nothing new about this. Now, when it comes to the 17 Pro Max, this is the most maxed out iPhone setup yet. You get a 48 megapixel wide angle sensor, a 48 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 48 megapixel ultra wide lens. And on the front, you get an 18 megapixel selfie camera. But what gives it the win in my books is the fact that Apple added features that solve real world pain points. And when you think about it, dual capture lets you record with the front facing camera and the back camera at the same time, which makes a lot of sense if you're doing reaction videos, or you're at a concert, or you're at a sports game. Then there's the new feature called Center Stage, which kind of blew my mind. This lets you take landscape selfies without rotating your phone horizontally. It just makes a lot of sense. Of course, the Pixel 10 Pro XL has excellent cameras as well. You have a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 48 megapixel ultra wide lens, and a 48 megapixel 5x telephoto lens, and a crazy 42 megapixel selfie camera that delivers the balanced, crisp shots that the Pixel is famous for. There's also a bunch of AI-driven features like Best Take, Add Me that are actually useful for taking better group pictures. So that is good. But the 100x ProRes zoom feature, which is what Google is placing front and center in their marketing, is just that. It's marketing. Now, beyond 30x, the details fall apart very quickly, but it's not a deal breaker because most of us don't need 100x for anything. Now, the 10 Pro XL will lose more points when it comes to its video. Now, it's not like the video is bad, but when you compare it to the 17 Pro Max, it's like night and day. There's just something about the video that just doesn't look good in comparison to the other flagships of the world. That aside, HDR is very solid, 4K 60 is pretty smooth, and 8K recording with video boost is very good if you're willing to wait for the processing. I have to give points to the iPhone in this category. I love that you can shoot in ProRes log, which means you're fully optimizing all the hardware and software at your disposal, and you have maximum control over the output as well. It is a phenomenal camera, and there are even Hollywood productions that were shot with the iPhones. I mean, there are rigs and other stuff, but still, stabilization, dynamic range, and ease of use makes this the best pocket video camera out there right now in 2025. Now, battery life is always tricky with the iPhones, but this year, Apple has made some solid gains. Charging speeds are decently fast now. It's still not industry leading, but definitely an improvement from the 16 Pro Max. Now, the 17 Pro Max comes in two battery sizes depending on which model you get. You have a 4,832 mAh for the nano SIM version and 5,088 mAh if you go for eSIM only. That extra efficiency comes from the lack of a physical SIM hardware inside the phone, leaving more room for a slightly larger battery. Now, on the Pixel side, you're looking at an even bigger battery. This is 5,200 mAh, but in my testing, the Pixel isn't really the best when it comes to battery management so far. It drains pretty quickly, if I'm being honest, and without me doing something crazy. And like I've said, this feels like a software problem, and down the line they can easily fix this with an update. But so far, it's not really living up to that hype. Okay, so with all things considered, the question is, which of these two phones is better and which one should you get? Here's what I think. If you're locked into iOS and you want the most complete iPhone ever made, then the 17 Pro is a no-brainer. For $1199, you get a durable build, a beastly performance, reliable battery, and world-class video. And at the same price point, the Pixel 10 Pro XL is the smartest smartphone around. You have superb software performance, excellent camera, and actual useful AI features. I think this is a worthy upgrade if you're coming from an older Android phone, but if you want to try out the Pixel for the first time, I'd recommend the Pixel 10 instead because you get everything in a smaller body and at a cheaper price. But which one does it for you? Let me know down in the comments, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like this video, as this is one of the best ways to help me out. We have more reviews coming within the next week, so make sure you're locked in. As always, thank you guys for watching this video. My name is KJ, and I'll see you guys in the next one.